Nagabenta ki khubor baman kasngi pet but subscribe ya u Antor News. Aro kini kilong ki khubor bam ta kasngi. U Dr. Mukul Sangma MLA na songsang ulapan pau ya kajing sngokya halor kajing lut kablapan kre ban pendep ya ka Ganol Small Hydro Project Hagaro Hills. Kadkum ki khubor bami hakilat pathai khubor ulo ong ba kajing pelut baro kalong ban pendep ya kani ka project boarding electric kabala ban pinmi hado arfo ar point san megawatts bat kadai ban ai mentoy sya ka sorba tura. Ula kedauru bakat kum ke electric ang jong usnem arha jalai kedon kerukam trekam ke beskem bat ke basyai ban penti kena bagi patba bagi nong penyat kilong ki bakit kli bat ban penpoi hok ia ke boarding sya kinong pendon kam. Ka jinglut ka balabu kerpang ban pendep ia kini ka projek kalong shi spa san pendriu point southfly klur tingka bar kapur balabu ban pendep kalong arfu prabnai nahapo laisnem u Dr. Sangma ulaong. Ba kalong ka balingo banyo i ki project boarding electric kum kani ki bala ban pendep hakapor ka bapiang kumta ka bamut ba kajaka kalong ka besung banrung bat ka project kalong ka bala ban ne nokloi. Walada ki jing ki baklem da poi perkhat ki la ban mi henry kat kum ka jing ong jong Dr. Sangma hadu usnem arhajar khat nyo arhajar khat pra ka project kala jan deplun. Ha ubnai no pra arhajar khat pra labu linti ban play pat ba yagani ka project ulo ongru ba ka Meghalaya Energy Corporation Limited MEECL kala ai jing tip shaki pat ba da garukam ka basai bat baklan. Kabamut ba omdan jingdon kamshu ban pinslam ne ban pinbun jinglun. U Dr. Sangma ulapan kan mau ba ka synshar ba ka jingkitkhlieh ha ka synshar kadar kalong ka badan kam. But kum kinong mi khmat pat ba kidon ka jingkitkhlieh ban yada bat yarap ya ka bha ka miat jangki pat ba. Bat ka jelahi baro ka wei. Ulo ongru ba ka jela Meghalaya kla shimti ya ka wei ni kirukam trekam ba klantam hari India banwan ra ya ka jingshisha ha ka synshar pat ba.
Determined to be passed on to the consumer is rupees 12.80. So you can understand how these are calculated and how this is passed on to the consumers. You have to look at that this cost has come down only after minusing the grant that has been provided for the completion of this project. Because in order to ensure that the project is completed, the government has scouted for uh, different sources of funding, which includes the government grant. Besides the loan, which was also again dedicated loan from the NABARD. And therefore, in spite of the grant of which is projected at a figure of 314 after the completion of this project by this current government, you still have this much of tariff passed on to the consumer. Now, what I'm trying to bring to your notice is look at the difference. When the project was initiated, not the conceptualized, because the project was conceptualized in 2006-7 and the sanction was accorded in 2007. But 2008, post-election, a new government, which was, of course, led Dr. Don Cooper Roy, during which time the incumbent chief minister, Mr. Conrad Sangma, was the minister in charge of power as well and finance. They decided not to go ahead with the project. There was a dilly-dally. Therefore, the total, the duration of validity of contract, any builder, when they participate in any bidding process, the validity of that offer in the bidding, there is a specific validity period. So the validity period having expired, there was no extension of that validity, which indirectly tells us that it was allowed to have the process was allowed to go to have its own natural death. So the project did not take up. 2009, we came back to power. We initiated this whole process again. 2010 uh, till 2014, we worked on these to revive the project because the whole estimate has to be revised because the overall schedule of rates must conform to the current market index in terms of the materials used in the bill of quantity. Therefore, the project cost came up. And the project cost, which was approved at the time when the project was started, was 356.43 crores. I repeat, 356.43 crores only. And the duration of time for completion of the project was from the time of implementation, starting of the implementation of the project was only 28 months. That means less than 3 years. Now you will not see projects of this nature, hydroelectricity projects, which can be completed within 3 years or below 3 years. That means the access to the project site was easy. That means the project was one of the best which could have been completed in time within 3 years. Now, there will always be unforeseen challenges, but by 2017-18, the project has been completed to an extent that after 5 6 months, in 2018 December, the project was scheduled to be commissioned. If you go back to the whole uh, series of informations that was shared by the Meghalaya Electricity Generation Corporation Limited, you will see that these informations were shared in a very very transparent manner. That means there was no more scope for any further delay nor for any escalation. I repeat, therefore, with that declaration that the project was to be commissioned by 31st by December 2018, it can be easily interpreted for the understanding of every one of us that that means there was no more scope for both time overrun and cost overrun. But what has happened is that subsequently the corporation came up with a petition for revision of the cost. Now, revision of the cost was processed by following various procedures which is required, and by that whole exercise, the corrected and revised projected costs for the project with that kind of with the price level calculated at that current price of 2019 was 507.7 crore. I repeat, 507.7 crore. There is the revised projected cost of the project for completion. Now, again, there is no end to this whole exercise of engaging in revision petition for increasing the cost. Subsequent revision was done, and the 507.7 crore came up to 535.34 crore. That is in 2023. We are in 2025. And yesterday, when I looked at the news carried by the media pertaining to the submission of the Chief Minister post cabinet meeting, the figure now is projected as at 590.88 crore. Now, please understand one thing that every single paisa which is spent for any generation project, the cost of that generation of the power is passed on to the consumers. That is how the overall tariff settlement works. The generation company will submit before the State Electricity Regulatory Commission to determine the tariff based on this projected expenditure. And therefore, every tariff is calculated based on this cost. That means the more the cost, the more the tariff. Now, you look at the audacity of this government that from 356.43 crore, they have proposed and they have approved the revise in 2019 at 507.70 crore. Then subsequently in 2023, their again revision figure showed 53, no, 535.34 crore. And the figure which was reflected in the media briefing of the Honorable Chief Minister stands at 590.88 crore, for which they have made 30 crore available for the corporation to clear all the pending dues of the contractors. The government has the responsibility of paying all the pending liabilities of the contractors. But what is important here is how is it possible for a power project of this size to have the space for repetition and revision of their projected costs? And as I have said, the ramification of this cost overrun is ultimately there has two negative effects. One is the drainage of money from scarce public exchequer. This is a project which was supported by grant from the government. That means money from public exchequer. Now, instead of less than 400, you will end up spending close to 600. You look at the total cost of the project at the rate of means the rate at if you calculate the cost of generation per megawatt. It is a 22.5 megawatt project. It is also eligible for certain incentives from Government of India because this is considered as renewable power projects. And if you are looking at the total cost which has been spent after this repeated revision, which was avoidable, I am repeating, which was avoidable, the cost of generation per megawatt has come to 26.26. Nowhere in this country probably has spent more than even 20 crore per megawatt, even in the most difficult areas. Now, Meghalaya has shown the way, so others will follow. So these are trial balloons. These are trial balloons to see whether people react or not. It is very important for us not to remain silent on this kind of modus operandi that this government of the day has so well scripted in every sector. Every project is being abused and misused as the milching cow at the cost of the interest of the state, at the cost of the interest of the people. Every single paisa, every resources that is spent from the government exchequer has to have its intended outcome in an optimum manner. And the government of the day, irrespective of which government has shouldered the responsibility of governance. Every government has the responsibility of protecting the interests of the state. Every person who are vested with the authority, power in different line departments, they are required to ensure that they shoulder the responsibility of protecting the interests of the state. Now, here it seems that all this exercise has been done in such a way that this whole exercise, which have ultimately resulted into such an skyrocketing surge in the whole cost of completion of the project, no due diligence, or rather, uh, there seems to be complete insensitivity to by all the concerned authorities who were responsible to really do proper auditing of the projected escalation of the project cost and see that the scarce resources from the public exchequer are not wasted by this avoidable inflated cost of this project. I will require, therefore, the government to give us complete clarity on this necessity of cost overrun. As you have seen, I have referred to this figure starting from 356 crore. The first revised projected cost was 507, then it goes up to 590. There's a huge escalation. In order to ensure that there is transparency in the whole affairs of governance, we have, as legislators, with utmost sense of responsibility towards the people, and knowing fully well our binding responsibility to protect the interests of our people and the state, we have come up with a very robust, one of the first in the whole country, a legislative piece of exercise. We have spoken about this number of times. I have myself launched this implementation of this particular initiative, which is through the mandate of an act passed by the state legislature called the Meghalaya Community Participation and Public Services Social Audit Act 2017. Now, the relevant section of this act, at section 6, section 7, section 15 of this act, requires the government to ensure involvement of the community in the whole process of both framing, formulating, and at the same time, at the time of implementation of every project, so that there is by default a concurrent auditing process. Usually, auditing takes place after the project is completed. Many a time you see the audit report of the CAG, they are all after a project is completed, after irregularities are detected. But here we have a robust system of auditing wherein you involve the stakeholders and everyone is involved in ensuring an auditing process which is concurrent in nature. Concurrent. That means at the time of implementation of the program. Why is this whole exercise, collective endeavor resorted to by us, getting the approval of the August House to give effect, to give mandate to this proposed act? Because we felt it was necessary. This can act as a robust mechanism for creating deterrence and any scope for omission and commission at the time of implementation of the scheme. Therefore, in respect of this Ganol power project, there must be a social auditing done in order to instill confidence and in order to enlighten people to see that no authority concerned has abused or misused their authority to bleed the state exchequer to the extent which is of a very astonishing figure. A project cost, as I have said, which was initially conceptualized and approved and started after the bidding process was completed. That means the builder has accepted this price, the cost of 356 crore. The same builder has continued to complete the project. He has gone ahead with the implementation, but he has done it in a different way after the incumbent government came to power. Suddenly, there's a new opening for the contractor to petition for revision. So that means there's a need to find out what is the modus operandi that has been scripted and adopted to convince the authorities in such a manner that the 356.43 crore project, which was almost in the verge of completion, was revised to 507 crores. Look at the jump of not just 10% or 20%. Look at the percentage in terms of jump. Then 507.71 crore, which was revised by the incumbent government in 2019, was again revised to 535 crore in 2023, 2 years before. 523.34 crore. Therefore, 2025 and now 2000, yeah, 2025 now and 2023. Now it is almost 600 crore. As though the government is flushed with money, as though this money is falling down from the heaven like manas. Friends, every penny which is to be spent from the public exchequer has to be voted in the floor of the August House. That is how our democracy works. That is how our system works. And this system how they are trying to manipulate and somehow manage to get away, I will say that this is nothing but an exercise of the government, people in authority, to engage in this trial balloon exercise. It is a trial balloon to see whether people react or not. Every individual, every elected representative, and people who have assumed upon themselves the responsibility of serving the people, serving the state, must also assume the responsibility of protecting the state, protecting the interests of the people. And we have to do that.
Do you feel
An investigation, I have every reason to at least doubt the integrity in as far as this escalation and the expenditure that has been incurred. As I have earlier shared with you, if the project was to be commissioned in 2028 December, suddenly you find that there's a petition for revision of the whole project. And that was revised till 507. Then now it goes to 535. Then it goes to 590. That doesn't happen with any project. Yes.
do you feel any political contractors nexus?
The outcome of an independent inquiry shall give us the clarity. Therefore, the need for an inquiry. There must be an inquiry because we have tried to find out all the factors that has been weaponized to justify this projected escalation of cost. Therefore, whether those components of work, those scope of works really existed, or there are always phases of work, certain scope of work, certain component of works which are under the surface, certain components of work which are above the surface. Now, after you have completed all the available scope of works as per the bill of quantity approved, which are below the surface, is there any more room and any more space for any work which will enable the agencies or implementing authorities to say that there were some geological surprises? Geological surprises will happen under the surface of the land, not above the surface. So, therefore, there's a reason to come up with proper investigation. We must see that this exercise is in order to ensure that the same thing is not a same thing doesn't become a precedent. Otherwise, we allow the government of the day to get away. It becomes a precedent. It emboldens people. Deterrence is important. Deterrence regulates the behavior of the people. Therefore, to ensure deterrence, we have multiple mechanisms mandated by law. Therefore, if there is any reason to believe that yes, there has been a predetermined malafide intention, irrespective of whether the whole action can be proven to have had any quid pro quo by the people concerned, we must understand that even the failure of the people in authority to protect the interests of the state attracts the provision of Prevention of Corruption Act. The Prevention of Corruption Act 1988 is very clear, and the subsequent judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court interpreting these relevant sections of the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988 is very clear. And one of the operational part of one of the judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court says that though there is no malafide intention proven, nor any prima facie evidence to prove that there was a quid pro quo, however, the officer concerned has failed to protect the interests of the state. Therefore, under relevant section of Prevention of Corruption Act 1988, the officers' concerns were convicted. This is the judgment of the Supreme Court. That means the honors of responsibility of protecting the interests of the state protecting the interests of the people lies with the